Hi everybody, this is Mike Pach, Move Shoot Move Ambassador and owner of Three Peaks Photography. I'm also a board member of DarkSky Colorado, so I really enjoy getting out under dark skies to photograph the stars in the Milky Way. And I'm making this series of videos to help you edit your astrophotography images. Editing is a huge part of making your astrophotography images look good. And if you notice, if you shoot in Camera Raw, that the files right out of the camera are pretty dull and they need some help. So I've been using Photoshop for more than 25 years, and I try to keep up with all the latest techniques and tools, and I feel that I've got a really good workflow going on right now that uses all of the latest methods and tools that are available in Photoshop, Lightroom, and Camera Raw. So check out my channel, subscribe. The stuff that I've learned recently has really improved my images a lot. And check out all the other stuff that I have for using the Move Shoot Move products to get some amazing tracked images of the night sky. So we'll see you out there under some dark skies. So if you've watched part 1 of this series, video number 1, you'll recognize these images. These are the photos that I edited without using any masks. And if you want to watch that video, go back to my YouTube channel and check it out. In this video, part 2, I am going to edit these 3 images using masks. Photo number 1, we're going to edit in Camera Raw. Number 2, we're going to edit in Lightroom. And number 3, I'm going to edit inside of Photoshop. Adding the masking functionality to Camera Raw and Lightroom was a game changer for me. Now my editing process is completely different, and what masks do is they allow us to select certain portions of an image and isolate those from the rest of the photo so that we can make adjustments that apply only to those areas. So let's check it out. Let's open photo number 1. Controller Command R from inside a bridge will open in Camera Raw. You'll notice that my ISO on this image is at 6400, so that's pretty high. The image is going to be fairly noisy, and this is a normal setting for me when I'm doing night sky photography. I am going to first use the denoise function to remove noise from the image. And all I have to do is simply click on the little box where it says denoise and let Camera Raw do its thing. We get this dialog box and we just have to wait a minute for the program to do its thing. You'll notice that once it's finished, the slider is set to 50, and that is actually a good setting for an image that was photographed at ISO 6400. If I shot this at maybe 1600, I might turn that slider down to 30 or 35. If I shot it at an ISO of 8000 or 10,000, then maybe I'll turn it up to 75. But what this does is give me a very clean image and some really good information that I can work with for doing my edits. If I wait to do this towards the end of my editing sequence, then what happens is portions of the image will change as a result of using this function. A lot of times shadow areas get darker, and then I have to go back in and re-edit. So I don't want to do that. Plus it's going to allow some of the tools to work better, especially my shadows tool, and then we just end up with a better looking image as a result. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add my masks. So instead of making adjustments in the edit panel, I'm going to go over to the mask panel and create my mask. So the mask icon is in the far right hand column, 4th one down. Keyboard shortcut in Camera Raw is M, and if I open it up, you see that I have quite a few options. A mask is a selection, so if I want to select a certain part of the image, then I can isolate it from the rest of the image and make adjustments that only affect it. I can create a mask for the subject or the sky or the background. One of the cool features that was added recently is landscape. So if I have a landscape photo with mountains and trees and water like shown in this little preview, it will recognize those elements and allow me to create masks for each of those things. It also can detect architecture. One of the photos I have has a cabin in it, and it will also recognize that and allow me to create a mask for the cabin itself. Since this is a simple image, I am just going to create a mask for the sky. So I'm going to click on the sky icon, and just very quickly it has selected my sky. Anything that's shown in red right now is part of this mask, and the mask panel opens up, and you can see here that I have a thumbnail associated with mask 1. And if you're familiar with masks, anything that is shown in white is selected and part of the mask. What I'm going to do next is create my mask for the foreground, and all I have to do is take this mask and flip it. So I'm going to click on the 3 little dots here to get this pop-up menu, and third selection down is duplicate and invert mask. And now I have created mask 1 inverted, which is containing my foreground and my windmill. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to mask number 1, and I'm going to make some edits to my sky, bring my exposure up about 1. That looks pretty good for now. Any of these adjustments I make are non-destructive, so I can change them at any time. Even if I close out the file and reopen it, those changes will stick, and I can re-edit those changes anytime that I want. Let's see, what do I want to do next? I'm going to go down to the dehaze slider, which is one of my favorite tools for astrophotography. This is going to make my sky look really nice and help to make that Milky Way pop. Then I'm going to go down to the curves tool, and I emphasize this as a very important tool in video number 1. I'm going to grab a spot on the curve to the right of the spike in the histogram, draw it up to make the sky brighter, and you notice that all of the adjustments I'm making are only affecting the sky because that's what's in my mask. Then I'm going to go to the left side of the spike, grab another point, and draw it down to create some contrast. And then I can tweak these however I want just to make it look good for me. And one of the big differences working here with the mask is that if you did watch video number 1, I was making global edits. I wasn't using masks. All the adjustments that I made affected the entire photograph. So if I needed to draw shadows or draw detail out of my shadow areas, those adjustments were affecting the sky as well, and also shifting my histogram. So I had to go back and tweak my curves adjustment over and over again. I don't have to worry about that here because I'm only making adjustments to my sky right now. Once I have these set, I can leave them alone unless there's a reason that I think I can do something better. Okay, so right now we're going to leave this as is, and we're going to go up to the mask for the foreground. And first I'm going to bump up my exposure so that I can see more in that grassy area, get some detail in there, bring up my shadow slider. Now, if I made these adjustments without first using the denoise tool, then my foreground would look very noisy. And this is one of the things that the denoise tool helps with. So bring those up a bit. I'm going to go down to clarity, pump up the clarity a little bit. This is going to add some contrast in there, make some of the brighter areas of the grass a little bit brighter. And that's looking pretty good to me right now. So if I want to check to see how my changes have affected the image, I can toggle back and forth between where I started and where I am now. All I have to do is go down to the bottom right and click on this icon, and it allows me to toggle back and forth between the two editing states. I can also use the P key, and I can check to see how I did. If I don't like what's going on or what I've done, I can always change it. I also have a lot of cleanup to do before I put an image on display. I'm going to take a close look at all the artifacts that are present in the image, like these satellite streaks and airplanes and this really annoying green light that's on this house. And I'm also going to look for any stuck pixels. I'm going to clean everything up before I share this on social media or print it. I'm not going to go through all those steps right now, but for the major edits, I'm calling this done, and we're going to move on to image number 2. So now I'm in Lightroom, not Lightroom Classic. I'm in Lightroom, and I'm going to edit image number 2. You'll notice that Lightroom, or this version of Lightroom, is very similar to Camera Raw. And the first thing I'm going to do is go over to the detail panel and use the denoise tool. So I'm just going to click the little box and let the program do its thing, and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, now that the denoise feature is finished, you'll see that the slider is set to 50, and that's where we're going to leave it for this particular image. Now I'm going to create my masks. So I'm going to go over to the mask panel, which is in the far right hand column, and same keyboard shortcut M. It's the 5th icon down, and I have the same options. I can create masks for subject, sky, background, landscape, all these other choices. And for this particular image, again, since it's simple like the previous one, I'm going to make a mask for the sky, and then I'm going to copy and invert that mask for my foreground. So if I click on the sky icon, it's going to detect the sky and create my mask. If I hover over the thumbnail, it shows me the overlay. Everything that is in red is contained in my mask. And if I look at the thumbnail, you'll see that everything that is white corresponds to the sky and what's selected in this mask. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is duplicate and invert this mask. So click on the 3 dots, select duplicate and invert, and now I have mask number 2, which is my foreground and my windmill. All right, now I'm ready to do some editing. So I'm going to go over to mask number 1 and work on my sky, bring my exposure up a bit, go down to dehaze. That looks pretty good. And then the curves tool inside of Lightroom is different than what we're used to in Camera Raw and Lightroom Classic. It's not showing us our histogram, but I'm going to grab a couple points here on the curve and create that S curve and make that sky look the way I want it to. And once I have moved these around enough, then I'm going to leave that there and call our sky good for now. So now I'm going to go over to our inverted mask and work on our foreground and bring up my exposure a bit to get some detail in that grassy area. Bring up the shadows, and then also bring up some clarity. Okay. All right. And that's it. That looks pretty good for now. Again, I can readjust all of these settings that I worked with if at some point I don't like the way this looks, before I post this somewhere or make a print, I'm also going to take a very close look at things and remove any stuck pixels or artifacts like airplanes and satellites and things like that, any distracting elements. Okay, I also, if you look down in the bottom right hand corner, have that same icon to toggle back and forth between where I started and where I am now. Okay, so just give you a look at that. Here's where I started and here is where I am now, and huge difference, just making some very simple adjustments. Now I'm back in Bridge looking at the images that I have in my folder that we're editing, and I want to point out that I edited image number 1 inside of Camera Raw, and I edited image number 2 inside of Lightroom, and you can see that Bridge is showing us that they have been edited. We get that little icon in the upper right hand corner that tells us it's been edited, and you can see that obviously the thumbnail images have changed. So if I use either program, I am basically doing the same things, and the changes are reflected when I look at the images in Bridge or in either program. Okay, so now I'm going to work on image number 3, and we're going to work on this inside of Photoshop. Again, my keyboard shortcut is Control-Command-R to open this image in Camera Raw. The first thing I want to do again is go to my detail panel and apply the denoise before I bring this into Photoshop and work on it. So I'm going to click the little checkbox to apply denoise, and we'll be back in a minute. After I've made my denoise adjustment, I'm going to increase the exposure on this image a little bit because it's a little dark, and this is going to help Photoshop recognize the different elements within this image. So what I'm going to show you here is how to open this as a smart object inside of Photoshop, and you have the option to do this in either version of Lightroom as well. If I go down to the bottom right where I have the open button and I click on the little down arrow caret thingy, I have 3 choices: open, open as object, and open as copy. So if I click on open as object, then this is going to open the file as a smart object inside of Photoshop and maintain the link between Photoshop and Camera Raw. If I want to go back in the Camera Raw and readjust the image, all I have to do is double click on the thumbnail in the layers panel, and it will bring me back to Camera Raw. So what I'm going to do is open this in Photoshop as a smart object. And once we're in Photoshop, if we look at the layers panel and the layer that we currently have, it has this little icon in the bottom right hand corner, and that means that it is a smart object. So if at any time I want to go back into Camera Raw and make some further adjustments, all I have to do is double click and we're back in Camera Raw. It's really cool. There's been, I don't know how many times that I have put something into Photoshop, started working on it, and then thought, oh man, I should have done this in Camera Raw before opening the file and doing all this other work. So this is a really great feature. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the layer in the layers panel just to the right of the name of the layer and get this pop-up menu. Then we are going to choose mask all objects, and Photoshop is going to detect the objects in the image, the sky, the barn, the mountains, the foreground, and create masks for us. So Photoshop has detected the objects in the image and created these masks. And for some reason it gave me an extra mask of the barn, which we could probably throw away. But if you want to see what's on a mask, you use the Alt or Option key, hold it down and click on the mask, and then you can see the mask in the working area. Okay, so this one we could probably throw away, so I'm just going to drag that down to the trash. And so then I have a mask for my my foreground and my mountains, and then I have a mask for my sky. And if I want to clean up any of these masks, I can do so by using the brush tool and the colors white and black. I'm not going to go into the details right now of editing masks, but what we can do now is we can apply adjustment layers to all of the masks that we have and make the image look the way that we want to. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to work on our sky. So I'm going to select the sky layer, or layer mask rather, and then I'm going to use the curves adjustment layer, and I can do the same thing that we did in Camera Raw and work with the curves, grab a spot or a point to the right of that large spike, and then grab another one to the left and adjust until my sky looks the way that I want it, making that nice S curve. And you can see what my sky looks like now. Make some further adjustments there so that you can see that. And I'm going to leave that there for now. So again, all of these adjustments are non-destructive and I can change them at any time. Now I'm going to go to the mask with my foreground. It does not include the barn, so I'm going to be adjusting the barn separately. I am going to do a levels adjustment on the foreground and just brighten that up. So whoop, that was a bit too much, so that we get some detail in there, and that looks pretty good for now. Then I'm going to go over to the mask with the barn. I'm also going to use a levels adjustment there, and let's see, oops, wrong slider. Going to brighten up our barn and make that much more visible. If I want to re-edit any of these adjustments, all I have to do is click on the icon for the adjustment layer itself, and then I get the properties panel and I can readjust however I want. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Let's work on our grass a little bit. Needs a little bit more contrast. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so again, what I would do before, my last step before putting this on display or printing it, is I'm going to take a close look at everything, remove any distractions, artifacts, stuff, pixels. But the way I have to do this when working with a smart object is that I have to create a separate layer. So what I'm going to do is go down to my layers panel, make sure that the image is selected, and then I'm going to go down to the bottom and click on the icon for a new layer, which is the square with the plus in it. And I'm going to create a new layer, and then I can use my remove tools and my heal tools. Okay, so this is the way that I have to do things when I'm working with a smart object. Okay, so once I'm done doing all that stuff, this is including the distraction removal. This is all completely non-destructive. I'm going to make sure that I save this as a Photoshop file, because then that's going to maintain all of my layers and my layer masks. If I want to then share a copy of this on social media, I will save a copy as a JPEG, and then that will be what gets shared with everybody. All right, so I just showed you a variety of options in several different programs to edit your astrophotography images using masks, and I hope that this helps you with your post-processing a lot and helps you to create those images that you are very proud to see and share with everybody else.